Welcome to Sullivan & Cromwell Sidebar, where we talk with our different litigation partners about some of the most interesting legal issues they've seen in their careers, what they're seeing on the horizon, and just general topics. I'm Jake Clayton, Senior Policy Advisor at Sullivan & Cromwell, and with me today is Jake Croke. He is co-head of S&C's governance litigation practice. His practice focuses on advising major companies and boards of directors in complex litigations, regulatory proceedings, and internal investigations. Jake's been a partner since 2019, but I know Jake very well, and he's been a senior advisor, a trusted advisor, long before he became a partner in 2019, which is a remarkable part about Jacob's career. So, Jake, what are some of the most interesting issues you've worked on in cases or investigations throughout your career?
So I've been really fortunate, I think, to work on some interesting matters with a lot of interesting people over the years. It's hard to explain to people what it is that I actually do, but it does make things fun and exciting every day. A lot of the stuff that I've ended up working on, for better or worse, has been kind of crisis situations, trying to figure out when you don't really know how you got there or how you're going to get out of it, but how do you try to fix things?
Well, in those situations, sometimes you can't talk about it because the reward for good work is silence.
Exactly. Some of the stuff we've dealt with over the years, I think falls in that bucket. It's interesting to me because it's not really all what I thought I was envisioning as a career as a lawyer when I started here, right? I didn't really know exactly how I wanted my career to develop, but I always knew that I wanted it to be different, challenging, constantly growing and learning, not sort of just doing the same thing over and over again. And it's been a great opportunity to do that here. I think the matter that's probably top of mind and top of the list for me is the FTX situation. It's hard to even really describe what it's like. It's something that's been going on now for nearly 2 years, but it also simultaneously feels like maybe 6 months, but also 20 years. We had no idea what it was going to be once we started getting into this. I remember that whole first week just kind of running around and just trying to understand what was going on. We didn't know what assets we had, what liabilities there were, what companies there were. We didn't know what was going on, where anyone was.
Right. It was white hot, headline grabbing news day after day, and a great deal of uncertainty. And here we are 2 years later, and you don't read about it, which means there's been a pretty orderly process to bring this back together. Any particular highlights from that process?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing to me that was always sort of the touchdown on this going back, I remember that for those first few months, you would be running around all day trying to understand what was going on, trying to find assets hidden all around the world, trying to understand what had happened. And it was exhausting, but the rewarding part was you'd be in that car at 3 a.m. going home in the FDR, knowing you were going to be back at it in a few hours the next morning. But you were able to take comfort in the fact that every time you spent a little bit more effort digging deeper into something or looking into some issue, it meant that you would be able to get more back to give to the innocent victims of this who thought that they were going to lose everything. And we're thrilled, really. I mean, we have our confirmation hearing in early October, and we are in a position to basically pay all non-governmental creditors 100% of what they had on the petition date, plus pretty substantial interest.
Yeah, there was something embedded in what you just said, which is one of the things about being a lawyer is who is your client? Who is the group, the person, the corporation, whatever it is that you're focused on and delivering for them? Here it was clearly the creditors, correct?
Yeah. We have a really great board and leadership team led by John Ray as the chief CEO and chief restructuring officer of the entire FTX group. But really, at the end of the day, we're all working on behalf of the creditors. We're all working on behalf of all the different stakeholders in the case.
Yeah, well said. The multiple stakeholders. Tell me a little bit about when you became co-head of the corporate governance and litigation, M&A litigation practice. Talking about development, how do you think about developing the practice, developing those you work with? And this came very early in your career.
Yeah, I mean, I think, so I view this area as so interesting because it's not just what people think of, I think, when they hear M&A litigation. It's really not just dealing with How do you fight over a busted deal or something like that? It goes to questions that are fundamental to all companies. Who's in charge of a company? Who controls it? Who makes the decisions? When there's a disagreement, how does that play out? What is the board's role and what the board's duties here? And how do you navigate those situations? It's been such a great experience to be able to learn from not just all of the other great people, the litigators here who work in that area, but also some of the best corporate lawyers in the world. Being able to sort of be in the room and be there with them and work through some of these challenging issues and seeing the kind of analysis and reason process they bring to those situations has been tremendous.
So in that vein, life is ever changing and there are developments in the economy and the law and the like. When you think about those types of situations, what are the things that you're focused on today, the issues that you're thinking about today?
I think one thing you see recently is that courts are increasingly focused on sort of what are the duties and roles of different senior people at companies, whether it's directors, controlling shareholders, in situations where there are big transactions being proposed or big corporate decisions being made. Are there conflicts there? Are the conflicts being disclosed? What procedures are set up and put in place? And I think everyone in those roles has to think a little harder about those situations than perhaps they used to. You get a lot more late night calls from directors now where they're trying to figure out, hey, this situation came up. There was a proposal here. Do we need to create a special committee for this? Should these other directors be involved? I think a lot of people are thinking harder about those issues than they might have in the past.
Do you feel that, you say they're thinking harder, do you feel that the judgment of directors is being subject to more scrutiny today than in the past? Just as a pragmatic matter, if you're talking to directors, is your advice that there's greater scrutiny over your process, but also your potential conflicts?
Yeah, I think there is. And I think it comes sort of from two angles. You have both perhaps an increased willingness from courts to sort of inquire into that and look at that, but also there's just more of a sense of other parties wanting to raise those issues and come in. You see a lot more outreach from whether it's significant shareholders, aggrieved parties, some potential litigations that come up. I think people are becoming increasingly focused on how do I show that we're doing the right thing at each step of the process.
So let's pivot on that and advising companies. We have a generalist approach here at Sullivan & Cromwell, and I like to call it not just generalist, but a diverse approach in that you see things beyond, well, just advising on the four corners of corporate governance. And in that regard, life is never as simple as the textbooks. Can you talk a little bit about how that diverse experience has helped you advise folks when the real world is beyond what you might see in the doctrine?
We talk about the generalist approach here a lot. I'm like the biggest proponent of it. I really think it is such a great way to approach these kinds of matters. It's a little bit of a self-interested element here, right? I like new and interesting things. I like to always be learning and developing, but I think it really is also a situation where it's truly beneficial for clients. It's so rare nowadays that clients deal with situations where they only have one issue. It's never the situation where they say, oh, we got a subpoena. How do we respond? It's almost invariably, we received a subpoena. It goes to potential management actions that might be called into question. How do we respond? Do we have to prepare for litigation? Are there employment-related issues that we need to take up? How do we inform the board? How do we deal with disclosure? What about dealing with the regulators? There's always so many facets to this. And I think the generalist approach that we take here means that it's not that I or anyone else will always have all the answers. It's that you see it enough that you can recognize where there are issues where you need to consult. And everyone here, it's probably one of my favorite things about this place. Everyone here loves to consult. You can always call someone, pick their brain, and they're more than happy to help you think through issues and make sure that you are really giving your client the full picture.
And my view is that consultation is really an effort to get at practical wisdom.
Yeah. It's being able to understand and respond to any issues that come up. Your clients will thank you for it, and it makes your job a lot easier.
And in that regard, one of the most important ways to bring that practical wisdom is to be able to put yourself in the shoes of your clients. How do you go about doing that? How do you go about building a relationship with the client so you understand their risk tolerance, their objectives, how they think about the world?
This sounds maybe a little too simple, but I think it's an important thing that I've had sort of drilled into me from when I first started here. I've seen you and many others do it over and over again, which is you have to understand what we're trying to do. We're trying to help our clients. And that doesn't just mean simply doing a good job on whatever project they have for us, but it means understanding what their business is, understanding what their overall objectives are, understanding how to make things easier for them. If you get some very complicated decision in that litigation, you obviously want to explain to them all the nuances of it, but you have to know that the in-house lawyers need to be able to explain it to management, right? So, you got to put together a little short summary for them.
So without naming names, talk about an experience in that regard that was particularly satisfying, where you felt like not only did you deliver on the law and deliver a result, but you delivered in a way that really met the needs and objectives of your client.
So I had a situation some number of years back where a client was facing a very, very challenging regulatory investigation, wasn't sure how it was going to sort of navigate that and also continue to focus on their business. And we and the whole team working on it had the opportunity to not just take some of the burden off of them of the stress of dealing with the regulators, but also as they were internally working through their sort of management and governance structures, help them put themselves in a position where they knew that no matter what the ultimate outcome was, and no matter what the ultimate result of the investigation was, they could get back to focusing on their business and actually delivering on the product that they were dedicated to, and not worry that they were just going to end up getting completely sidetracked with legal stuff.
That is such an important thing for, I know you're a great mentor, and we're going to come to that, but there is limited bandwidth at corporations.
Yep.
They have limited time, limited resources, and if it's being taken up by regulatory matters, litigation, and the like, you're destroying value. And just having that perspective. So how do you help younger lawyers, newer lawyers who come to Sullivan and Cromwell develop that practical sense of where a legal matter sits within the much broader spectrum of what our clients are dealing with?
So, I think I try to sort of help people see what is a practical matter, what it is each day. When you're dealing with clients, good for younger lawyers to get that exposure, to be included in calls, to have a chance to interact with clients and sort of take ownership of things, because it happens very quickly. You become the person that the client will reach out to because the client knows that you're involved and knows that you know the facts, and they don't mind reaching out to a junior associate. And when you see, as a junior associate, you see opportunities to lean into something, show interest, show that you're not just responding to the task you've been assigned, but you want to learn more, right? Mm-hmm. You got to find things that interest you and that make you want to learn, not just about your case, but about what's happening in the industry. Right?
Well, I'm going to compliment you here because I've always thought that one of the very quickest paths to satisfaction and success was to have a deep knowledge of the law. That's what people are coming to Sullivan and Cromwell for. Mm-hmm. But understanding how that deep knowledge of the law fits with the particular commercial situation that is going on. We don't provide our commercial judgment, but we do provide our advice in the context of the commercial situation. I think you've done an amazing job at that from early on. How would you advise new lawyers to develop that skill? Give us just a specific or two about how you can marry those two, deep knowledge of the law and understanding of the commercial situation.
Probably the best tip I can give is take a little time each day, set it aside to just learn about something that's not directly related to what you're working on, but that you find interesting. You will find situations where you'll see some legal development, you'll see some article, you'll see some commentary, and you'll think, I find this interesting. This could be relevant for one of my cases. Take 2 minutes, write up a little summary and send it around to other people to bring it to their attention. And sometimes it might feel like you're just sending it off into the ether. Other times, some senior partner reads it, says, I think this is a great point, forwards it on to the client, copies you in, and then you've got some exposure there. It's a great opportunity to get introduced and to show that you're interested.
Well, that's great advice, and it's been super to sit down with you today. I wish we worked more together. Yeah. I hope to work more with you in the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining Sullivan & Cromwell Sidebar. Our special guest today is Jake Croke.